Everyone, my name is Ana Martha Ayala, and I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. As a reminder, I do every video in English and Spanish, and the degree theory is based on modern Western astrology using the Placidus house system. In today's video, I wanted to talk to you about the Mercury retrograde, and I apologize because I'm a bit late on posting the video, but better late than never. So Mercury is going to go or already went retrograde in Cancer on June 29th at 26 degrees, and he will go direct on July 23rd in Cancer at 16 degrees. So I wanted to remind you that the retrogrades for 2026 are in the water signs. So it's all about feelings, intuition, emotions, whether it's sadness, anger, happiness, frustration. So make sure that before you make a decision that your emotions are in check because the decisions might be made based on intuition, on feelings, instincts, and not necessarily logic. So when Mercury retrogrades, the signs that it affects the most are Gemini and Virgo because Mercury is the ruler of those two signs. It affects all the signs, obviously, in whatever house the retrograde falls. But the energy will intensify when it gets 3 to 4 degrees of where the planet will station. And so for those of you that don't know what a retrograde is Mercury will appear to go backwards from the Earth's point of view, but Mercury really doesn't go backwards. Okay. Um, what it is that Mercury is going forward or direct. It stops or it stations, and then it goes back or it goes retrograde. And again, the planet is not physically going backwards, but we see it from Earth's point of view as going backwards. So then after the retrograde, it stations before it turns direct. Now, when any planet, not just Mercury, is stationed, so the degrees are 26 and 16 in Cancer, then that's where the power, okay, that the planet is at its most potent power, okay, when the planet is stationed. Now, um, chances are for your personal chart, the houses that it will also affect is Gemini and Virgo. And of course, your Cancer house, right? So Mercury is the natural ruler of the third and the sixth house. A natural chart is one that has Aries rising. So Cancer represents family, your parents, your mother, the woman that raised you. It also represents the physical structure of where you live, meaning your home or your apartment. So this retrograde is all about family memories, good ones, the not so great ones. It's thinking about the past. Cancer is all about emotions, protection, your security, feeling safe. Mercury rules communications, your thoughts, which will be packed with emotions because it's Cancer, right? Mercury also rules transportation, short distance travel. Um, maybe, God forbid, if you had a fallout with one of your parents, then this Mercury retrograde is a great time to try to reestablish communication, a connection with them. Jupiter is in Leo during this retrograde, so hopefully the communication with children may also improve. Perhaps this retrograde, you're thinking about your priorities. What makes you feel safe? What are your needs? Who are the people that you care about? So all of these thoughts, right? You're rethinking, reviewing, because that's what Mercury retrograde does, right? So I am one of those astrologers that says that when Mercury is retrograde, I don't recommend that you buy anything, excuse me, anything electronic because the item will have electrical issues. Now, I have experienced this in my family. Okay, so I have experienced this myself with a computer. I remember when my dad bought his car on a Mercury retrograde, that car always had electrical issues until the day he sold it. So, um, also, I wouldn't recommend buying expensive items because at the end of the retrograde, you may change your mind. Needless to say, the travel should not start or end at the beginning or the ending of the retrograde because that's when the planet is stationing, and there could be a lot of stuff with the, like, that's when the airlines cancel your flight, or there's a mix up with the rental car or the hotel, or something goes wrong. So now, especially during the stationing period, I would avoid, if at all possible, buying any computers, any phones, any cars. If you do need to buy one because your phone dies or your computer crashes, which you should back up your data anyway, um, then get an extended warranty. If your car it breaks down and it needs to get repaired, ask about, a warranty for that repair. This, what Mercury is really good for is looking for something that you lost. I don't know why, but if you lost something eons ago and you start looking for it again during the Mercury retrograde, chances are you will find it. And obviously, a Mercury retrograde is something that you have to redo. Redo a project, rewrite something, review, rebudget, right? You get it. It's to redo something. Um, with Mercury retrograde, there's always a chance. I mean, there's a greater chance for miscommunication. So be extra careful in what you say. And sometimes the message that we send is not the message that was received. So ask the person, hey, so can you repeat what just to make sure that you understand what I want or what I said? I just want to make sure that we get it. Can you repeat what I just said? And then that way we try to avoid miscommunications. So if you do need to sign something, a rental agreement, a closing on a house, a lease, because yours ran out, right? A check and recheck, especially the numbers. Okay. There's always a chance that they will leave something out or there's a mistake with the math on the paperwork. So just check and recheck. I mean, some things can't be avoided and life does go on, but just take extra measures. Now, one really special thing that's happening with this retrograde is that at 26 degrees of Cancer, that was the Jupiter-Venus conjunction back on June 9th. So on June the 9th. So that is a little special time, right? And it might stir up something that came up on June 9th. Now, if you don't have any planets or angles in your chart, plus or minus 3 degrees, then most likely nothing's going to happen. So it has to be at 26 degrees. It has to be at 16 degrees, especially for the cardinal signs, because Mercury is in Cancer. Cancer is a cardinal sign. The cardinal signs are Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn. Now, of course, the cardinals have squares to this Mercury retrograde and oppositions. So although this Mercury retrograde should be okay. I don't see a major issue happening. And especially if we take the proper steps. Also, Virgo and Taurus may also be affected because it's a sextile. So that's a more of a favorable, it brings a small opportunity. So be aware. Now, on the same day that Mercury went retrograde, we had a full moon in Capricorn at 8 degrees. So this is definitely the parental axis, right? Capricorn is the ruler of the 10th house, and Cancer is the ruler of the 4th house in a natural chart. Again, any planets or angles plus or minus 3 degrees will be affected. All right. So let's take a look at the individual signs. And let's start with Aries. Aries, ooh, let me bring Mercury right side up there. Aries, Mercury retrograde starts well, it will retrograde in your fourth house. So, memories about your parents, your family upbringing are going to resurface. You can have, maybe you're buying a property and closing during this Mercury retrograde. So again, make sure that you review all the documents carefully. Maybe you want to go visit your parents and reminisce on all the good times that you had while you were growing up. There could also be miscommunications with your family, especially your mother. You can be rethinking where you live. Like if you're not happy where you live, then this period will make you think of like, well, maybe I should get a bigger place, or maybe I should move out of the city into the country, or maybe I should move from the country to the city, closer to town. So maybe there was a property that you wanted to put an offer in to, buy, and it went off the market. And now it comes back, and they list it again. I would wait until Mercury goes direct to make an offer. Or, you can make one of those like lowball offers and close when Mercury goes direct. But if possible, just wait to put in the offer. That's just my take on it. All right, Taurus. For Taurus, this Mercury retrograde happens in your third house. So third house is the house of siblings, of neighbors, extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins are also part of your extended family. A third house also rules a short trips. Maybe you want to go back to a place that you went on a trip with maybe your family or your siblings. You can also reestablish communication with your siblings, your cousins, extended family, or maybe you need to retake a license course because you didn't finish, right? The first time. It could be like continuing education type of thing. Perhaps the trip that you're going to take could be a family reunion, like the ones you see in Disney that they put the last name of the family, the Smith family or whatever. Those are really cute to see in Disney World. Now, if you decide to travel, make sure that the start and end dates of the travel is not when Mercury is stationing. That's what I would recommend. For Gemini. For Gemini, when Mercury goes retrograde, you and Virgo are the signs that get mostly affected because Mercury is your ruler. So, Mercury retrograde happens in your second house. So second house is the money that we make from the job that we do. It's also our assets, what we value. So this is a money house. And so maybe you need to be rethinking, reviewing your budget, or maybe even rebudgeting. It's all about, how much you make and how much you spend. Perhaps you're thinking about an old job that you had because a coworker or boss had you resign, quit, or you miss the people that you used to work with. Um, sometimes when we're forced to leave a job because your boss just makes your life impossible, but you get along with everybody else, right? You start thinking when the Mercury's in the second house about your old coworkers. Money is going to be a hot topic for you. So you need to review what you spend your money on and what you can save or how much more you can save. Also, second house is what you eat. So maybe this Mercury retrograde, you're going to be thinking about, wow, I put on a lot of weight. I used to be thinner. And maybe you want to revisit your diet. Okay. Always consult your primary care physician, right? Before you do anything drastic. Cancer. Cancer. This Mercury retrograde happens in your first house. So this one's a big one for Cancer. You're going to be thinking about all the decisions that you made in the past related to your family. And perhaps they weren't the best, and they have brought you where you are, to where you are now. A whirlwind of thoughts about what you want to change about yourself, your looks, your habits, the way you dress, because it's in the first house. So it's all about the way you come across to people and who you really are. Cancers crave feeling safe. They can go through life with big regrets because they sacrifice themselves for others, for the family, and they're not appreciated the way they should be. They're taken for granted. So what can you do, right? You can't change the past, but you can learn from it and not repeat the same situation. You can review your life choices, right? And change them going forward. Be more optimistic. Watch for creative thoughts, and move forward with all those ideas that come to mind. But when Mercury goes direct, you can, because the Mercury retrograde is happening in your sign, be extra careful with miscommunications, especially since Mercury retrograde is here, is going to be in opposition to your seventh house with your partner, both in love and business, and then at work because it's squaring the 10th, and then at home because it's squaring the fourth house. So, Cancer, you need to just be mindful about what you say. All right, for Leo. For Leo, Mercury retrograde is happening in the 12th house here. So for Leo, this can be a rough one because you can be thinking about family who is still here and who has departed, or perhaps not so great memories from your childhood experiences, from your past. Mercury doesn't feel good in the 12th house. So it could be a negative time, a dark time for your thoughts. So try to stay positive. Jupiter is in Leo, so maybe Jupiter's going to shield you a little bit from that. But just if you have any negative thoughts, turn them around, switch them. Maybe you can reconnect with an old friend, or there is some miscommunication with an old friend. Your thoughts can show more compassion, even more psychic stuff, right? Because, Cancer, the water signs are the most psychic ones in the zodiac. So, um, and Neptune is in Aries, so it's going to be trining your ascendant at times, depending on your degrees. Right now, it's from like 1 to 4 degrees. So maybe you have a combination of things. So there could be a little psychic hit going on for you. Also, when Mercury is in the 12th house, you may need some solitude time, to be alone, to regroup before moving forward, right? With any ideas that come up. So make sure that if you're going to implement something, that it's after the Mercury retrograde. For Virgo. For Virgo, this Mercury retrogrades, when Mercury retrogrades, you and Gemini are the signs that are mostly affected because Mercury is your ruler. The retrograde happens in your 11th house. So you can be thinking about past friendships, maybe even from your early childhood. An old friend can reach out to you to, meet up, catch up on old times. This friend maybe could have made you feel safe when you were kids, like we all had a best buddy, right? Um, Careful with miscommunications with your friends, your social circles, your professional organizations. You can be thinking also a lot about your goals, your dreams, or rethinking, right? Like the ones that you didn't get accomplished. Maybe you come up after you review, right? The goal or the dream that you had, and you come up with a plan. Just make sure that you implement it when Mercury is direct. For Libra. For Libra, uh, oops, Mercury fell. Hold on. Mercury is in your 10th house. So Mercury retrograde, you can be thinking about a past boss or past job and how miserable you were in the position, how they mistreated you. You gave, they gave you the work that no one else wanted to do. Someone from your past employer, an ex-coworker, can reach out to you to catch up on the gossip of the old employer, right? Um, Learn what happened after you left and don't let it happen again. Like, don't let anybody walk over you. Um, you can maybe think with your new position, right? Or a new job, or even if in your current position, think about things that you can redo to improve your job, right? To make things more efficient. Also, learn from your past to speak up and stand up for yourself. What's important for you in your career? Did something catch you off guard from something that a coworker or a boss said? Maybe you found out that somebody wasn't speaking well about you, or maybe your boss was trashing you a bit. There's always a way to set that straight very carefully, right? Always, and especially now during the Mercury retrograde, careful with miscommunications with your supervisor, even in emails. Make sure you reread everything before you click the send button on those emails. For Scorpio, your retrograde happens in the ninth house. So this is not bad, Mercury in the ninth. You can have a friend, a professor reach out to you from your college and university days. Perhaps it's about a trip to a foreign country that you would like to go back to. Maybe a study abroad that you did in college and you enjoyed and are communicating with someone from that time. A friend from college or an old professor can reach out to you to reminisce about the old times during that study abroad, or maybe just because, the university, whatever course you took, she decided to join the broadcast here. Okay. This is Sahara, by the way. Um, so again, there could be, if you are currently a student, there could be some miscommunications with your classmates or your professors, or maybe you're thinking about going back to school. So you can start planning, just don't do anything but research during this Mercury retrograde, right? And then you can reapply to college to re-enter for the fall after Mercury goes direct. If you're planning a long distance trip, be careful with scheduling the departure or returning when Mercury stations, right? And always check to make sure the car reservations, the hotel reservations, airlines are on time, etc. So, all right, Sagittarius. Sagittarius, the Mercury retrograde happens in your eighth house. This Mercury retrograde may have you thinking about your investments, uh, how much debt you're in, and what you're going to do about it because you're not feeling that great about owing so much money. Perhaps you need to reapply for a loan for a property that you wanted to buy and it didn't go through the first time. So now you reapply for the loan. Um, and God willing, you get the property, right? Just make sure that all of the numbers and everything that they promised you about that loan is correct. This can also be about your partner's resources and how things going forward, right? You're going to find ways to save money, by canceling subscriptions, cutting the lawn yourself, taking lunch to work, no more takeouts for a while, things like that, because it's all about the eighth house is one of the money houses as well. For Capricorn, this Mercury retrograde is happening in your seventh house. So seventh house is the house of marriage, is long-term relationships in love and business. So you are one of the signs that this Mercury retrograde is going to affect because it's in your seventh house, is one of the angles, and it's an opposition for you. So this can mean that maybe you're thinking about an ex-husband, ex-wife, ex-partner in a business. Memories can kind of resurface, the good ones, the not so good ones. And learn from the experience. So the next relationship that you have, that you apply the lessons, right? So we don't repeat the same mistakes. Well, I always say that the first time is an experience. Then if you do the same thing the second time, it's a mistake. That's the way I see it. So if your ex-husband, ex-wife, ex-spouse comes and says, hey, let's try to get back together. We don't have to get officially married again or whatever. Think why you divorced them to begin with, or why you stopped living together to begin with. Now, so if you are currently in a partnership or currently married, then be careful with miscommunications with your partner. And of course, this applies to business as well. Aquarius. Aquarius, this Mercury retrograde happens in your sixth house. So sixth house is health, exercise, routine, your co-workers, your daily routines. So maybe you get a message from an ex-co-worker telling you all the gossip about how the place fell apart when you left, right? Or maybe there's some with current coworkers, you need to be careful that there's no misunderstandings, no miscommunications. Um, emails, reread anything before you send. If it deals with your health, make maybe your PCP, your primary care physician, gets back to you with some test results, and then they want you to start a diet or healthy eating style, let's call it that way, or an exercise routine. So make sure that you follow the doctor's advice. I would personally implement it after Mercury goes direct, but you follow your doctor's advice. And finally, Pisces. Pisces Mercury retrograde happens in your fifth house. So here we go. Romance, children, hobbies, vacations, things that we do for fun, for enjoyment. So Pisces can get communication from an ex-boyfriend, an ex-girlfriend, and maybe they want to rekindle the romance, right? Rekindle the relationship. Obviously, I would suggest that you think back as to why you broke up with that person, right? What happened? And then whatever you're going to decide, put it in practice after Mercury goes direct. You can maybe restart a hobby like scrapbooking with all those family pictures, right? And I have a girlfriend that does that, and I don't have the patience for that. She's also an Aries rising, but I don't have the patience for that. But she enjoys it and she has fun with it. And she's like the memory keeper of all the family, right? So Careful with miscommunication with your kids, with your boyfriend, your girlfriend. If it's the children, because it's the fifth house, especially with your firstborn. Maybe this could also be traveling back to a vacation destination before with a family, like especially with your family, because it's in Cancer. That's why I'm saying. Again, those Disney World family reunions with the t-shirt, that says family, the Smith family, the Jones's family, so those are a lot of fun to see when you go to Disney World. So basically, this concludes the Mercury retrograde. I hope that you guys have take heed of this video, because communication from June 29th through July 23rd is going to be very important to avoid miscommunications, because the emotions are going to be all over the place. All right, well, thank you for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and send it to somebody else that this video might help. As always, thank you for watching. If you would like a chart reading with me, please send me an email to amaastrology@aol.com. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.